That version of them, it was never meant to last. You sit in the silence of your room, staring at an empty screen, replaying a ghost of a memory. You are desperately trying to figure out what you did wrong. You wonder how someone who loved you so fiercely, who claimed you were their absolute everything, could suddenly look at you with such cold, vacant eyes. Stop searching for your mistake. You are looking for logic in a funhouse mirror. The brutal, uncomfortable truth that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. is this: the person you are grieving never actually existed. What you experienced was not a once-in-a-lifetime romance. It was a calculated psychological operation, an emotional heist. If you have ever been left entirely hollowed out by someone who once claimed you were their soulmate, listen closely. Because you were not randomly selected, you were targeted. Let's rewind to the beginning, the golden phase. It felt entirely different from anyone you had ever met, didn't it? It felt destined. From the very first conversation, the intensity was blinding. They didn't just walk into your life, they flooded it. The morning texts, the late-night phone calls, the intense, unwavering eye contact that made you feel like you were the only human being on the planet. They wanted to know everything. They asked about your childhood, your past relationships, your deepest insecurities, and your grandest dreams. You felt seen. For the first time in your life, you felt truly, profoundly understood. They had the same rare interests as you. They hated the same things you hated. They spoke of a future with you within weeks, maybe even days. Trips you would take, a home you would share, a life that was perfectly aligned. You thought this was vulnerability. You thought this was connection. It was neither. It was a psychological technique called mirroring. They were not showing you their true self. They were reflecting your own desires back at you. They became the perfect puzzle piece, engineered to fit the exact shape of your loneliness. Every late-night confession you made, that was ammunition. Every time you told them how your ex hurt you, you were handing them a manual on exactly how to manipulate you. They weren't falling in love with you. They were studying you. They were mapping your psychological defense systems so they could bypass them completely. In clinical psychology, this is known as love bombing. But let's strip away the clinical terminology. What is it really? It is predation. Love bombing is a manipulative tactic used by individuals heavily draped in dark triad traits, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. It is the deployment of overwhelming affection, attention, and validation to rapidly dismantle your boundaries and gain total control over your emotional state. Think of it as a Trojan horse. If they showed up on day one demanding your compliance, isolating you from your friends, and criticizing your worth, you would have walked away. You are too intelligent for that. So, they had to blind you with light. To achieve this, they use a devastating tool called future faking. They paint an incredibly detailed, vivid picture of a shared destiny. They promise you marriage, children, business ventures, or simply a safe harbor. They give your brain a destination that feels so secure, you stop questioning the vehicle you're in. And as this happens, your physiology is being weaponized against you. The human brain is a chemical machine. During the love bombing phase, your brain is absolutely flooded with dopamine and oxytocin. Dopamine is the reward chemical. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. Together, they create a highly addictive neurochemical cocktail. Your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part of you that recognizes red flags and says, "This is moving too fast," is chemically suppressed. You were literally intoxicated by their presence. They became your drug, and they knew exactly what they were doing. This is the darkest part of the mechanism. The affection was never about you. It was about power. By making themselves the sole source of your happiness and validation, they effectively made you dependent on them. They built a pedestal, placed you on it, and convinced you that only they could keep you from falling. But here is the absolute law of psychological physics. A mask that heavy cannot be worn forever. Eventually, the performance exhausts the performer. The golden phase ends. And then comes the shift. It usually happens overnight. A sudden drop in temperature. A text left on read for hours. A passive-aggressive comment. A look of contempt when you ask for basic reassurance. You feel the shift in your gut. Your nervous system spikes. You ask them, "Are we okay? Did I do something wrong?" And they look at you like you are insane. They call you needy. They call you suffocating. They tell you that you are imagining things. This is gaslighting in its purest form. The pedestal they built for you? They just kicked it out from under you. This is the devaluation phase, and it is a necessary, intentional part of their cycle. Remember that dopamine addiction we talked about? Your brain is now crashing. You are experiencing acute neurochemical withdrawal. Your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, skyrocket. Your body is physically starving for the person who existed a month ago. So what do? You work harder. You compromise your boundaries. You apologize for things you didn't even do. You start walking on eggshells, trying to decode their moods, trying to trigger the perfect version of them to return. And occasionally, they throw you a crumb. A brief moment of warmth. A single text that sounds like the old them. This introduces a phenomenon called intermittent reinforcement. It is the exact same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines so violently addictive. You keep pulling the lever, enduring hours or days of emotional starvation, just for that one fleeting hit of a jackpot. Intermittent reinforcement creates a trauma bond. You are no longer attached to them through love. You are tethered to them through fear, anxiety, and a desperate biological need for relief. You begin to lose yourself. Your identity erodes. You stop trusting your own memory. You start believing that maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you are too demanding. You forget who you were before they hijacked your mind. They isolate you. Not by locking you in a room, but by making you so emotionally exhausted that you have no energy left for your friends, your family, or your own passions. You are trapped in a psychological cage. And the worst part is, they convinced you to lock the door yourself. This brings us to the moment of absolute, uncomfortable clarity. The realization that will fracture your reality, but ultimately save your life. You keep waiting for them to realize what they are losing. You keep hoping that if you just love them harder, if you are just a little more patient, a little more perfect, the mask will come back on permanently. Listen to me very carefully. The person who devalues you, who looks at your tears with blank indifference, who punishes you with silence, that is their true self. The perfect partner from the beginning, that was the illusion. You cannot fix them. You cannot heal them. Your love is not a magical cure for a profound, structural personality defect. To them, you are not a human being with a soul, a past, and a future. You are an appliance. You are a source of emotional supply. When a refrigerator stops keeping the milk cold, you don't take the refrigerator to therapy. You don't try to understand its childhood trauma. You kick it, you get frustrated, and eventually, you replace it. That is exactly how they view human beings. They loved the way you made them feel about themselves. They loved the power they had over you. They loved the reflection of their own grandiosity in your admiring eyes. But they never loved you, because they are fundamentally incapable of it. They lack the neurological hardware for empathy. While you were busy trying to build a shared life, they were playing a zero-sum game of dominance. And when they have completely drained your emotional battery, when you are a hollowed-out shell of the vibrant person you used to be, they will initiate the final phase, the discard. They will drop you with a coldness that defies human comprehension, and they will immediately move on to a new target, perfectly replicating the exact same cycle, the same texts, the same promises, the same future faking, the same mirroring, leaving you entirely alone, wondering how you could mean absolutely nothing to someone who was just your entire world. I know this hurts to hear. The cognitive dissonance is agonizing. Your brain is fighting a brutal war between the beautiful memories of the illusion and the dark reality of the abuse. But this pain, this stark realization, it is the exact weapon you need to free yourself. You are not weak because you fell for it. You fell for it because you possess high levels of empathy, trust, and a desire for deep connection. They weaponized your best traits against you. Do not let this experience turn you into them. Do not let it extinguish your capacity to feel. But you must close the door. Closure is a myth sold to us by movies. A psychological predator will never give you closure. They will never give you a genuine apology, because giving you closure means giving up control, and they will never do that. You must manufacture your own closure. You do this through radical, stoic acceptance. Accept that it was a scam. Accept that the person you miss is a phantom. Cut the supply. Block the numbers. Ignore the inevitable hoovering attempts when they circle back months from now, bored and looking for a quick hit of validation. Take your power back from the ghost. Your survival requires you to look at the monster in the light, recognize it for exactly what it is, and walk away without ever looking back. The fog will lift. The chemical withdrawals will end. And when you finally rebuild your baseline, you will emerge with an emotional armor they could never even comprehend. If this script shattered an illusion you've been holding on to, hit the subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly how long the golden phase lasted for you before the mask slipped. Write it down. Make it real. Let that comment be the gravestone for the illusion you are leaving behind today. Stay sharp, see the truth, and never let them back in.